In the syllabus, if we gone through the syllabus, then the very first topic we have, that is the sociology as a academic discipline, and into that the very first topic we have, that is modernity, social changes in Europe and emergence of sociology. So we will start our discussion with this basic concept, that how sociology emerged. How sociology emerged. And for that matter, we need to understand that sociology is a very modern science, very modern social science. This modern social science, that is a sociology, emerged in the 18th and 19th century. If we compare it with the history, political science, economics, even the philosophy and all that. So, if we compare sociology with all these social sciences, then we are the most youngest with the public administration. We are one of the most youngest social science. Okay? But how that happened? How that happened? That happened because of the process of modernity. In a process, in an evolutionary process, Europe became modern. That modernity led to the emergence of sociology. In a simple words, again, look at here, that sociology is one of the major social sciences. These are all examples of social sciences, and the sociology emerged as a result of modernity, and modernity result as of a social changes which took place in European society from the 14th century onwards. Okay, so the tagline is what? History is the window to see contemporary society. History is the window to see the contemporary society. In a simple words, again we can say here, the sociology. History is the window to see contemporary sociology. Please remember always this thing, that sociology focuses upon the contemporary society. Sociology focuses upon the study of contemporary society, what's going on around us. Whereas history also studies the same society, but its focus is not upon the contemporary society. Its focus is upon the past of the society. Are you getting my point? Past of the society. So, in a similar manner, if we want to understand the emergence of sociology, then we have to go to the past of the society. And that's why this is the process. Please remember this second aspect, that sociology emerged through the process, not as an event. As an process, not as an event. Okay, that's the one thing. Second, now, first of all, in European society, the social changes started to took place. Society, European society was transforming. The transformation of the European society started in the 14th century, which continuously take place. From 14 to 15, 15 to 16, 17, 18, 19, up to the 19. And this era, from 14th century to 19th century, was a remarkable era. Yes? And as slowly and gradually the European society changed, okay, so that led to the modernity process. So because of all these social changes, European society started to become modern, and because of this modernity, the emergence of sociology became possible. Emergence of sociology became possible. Now, how this happened? These are all social changes which took place, and these are the major social changes upon which you will get questions. There are a number of things happen. Number of people they contributed for these changes, but the UPSC, okay, particularly will focus more upon all these changes. First is a Renaissance, which took place roughly in 14th century, or which started in 14th century. Renaissance happened across the European society. In France it happened, in Italy it happened, Germany it happened, but in a different time period. But it started in 14th century. Second, the Renaissance led to the Reformation era, which took place in 15th century, roughly. Because of the Renaissance and Reformation, European society experienced enlightenment in the time period of 16th to 18th century. This is the major time period in which the Enlightenment era was happened. And in 1789, the French Revolution took place, and from 1740 to 1850, Industrial Revolution took place. And all these major events are the social changes which took place in Europe, because of which society transformed. Now, actually, what it did, what happened because of all these social changes? Yes, what happened? Can you tell me? See, before the 14th century, European society was the medieval Europe. Yes, it was a medieval Europe. And medieval Europe was dominated by the church. It means religion. Yes. And there is no harm, or there is we can say that, see, if religion is dominating your society, there is no problem at all. But when that religion becomes rigid, and this rigid religion, when start to exploit the people, that creates a problem. In the medieval Europe, that happened. The church and religion became too much rigid, too much stagnant, that they started to exploit the people. See, basic motto or objective of religion is what? To help the people. Yes? To help the people. To bring people out of the sorrow. To bring people out of the problems. To spread the humanitarian values. But everything was happening here in an opposite manner. The church was collecting, amassing the huge amount of wealth with itself. And what we are expecting from the church and Pope and everybody, that they should lead an ascetic kind of life. But what they were doing, they were enjoying the lavish life. So everything was dominated by the church during this medieval era. And because of that, all the classical thoughts which emerged during the time of Socrates, Aristotle and Plato were forgotten or neglected. Either forgotten or neglected by the European society. No new thoughts were allowed. No questioning was allowed during this time. During this time, no questioning was allowed. And this is the first and foremost thing every regime, though it be a religious regime or political regime, try to suppress. If they want to rule over the society unquestionably, then they always suppresses your ability to question. Question. And that is the most important thing the human being have. See, just look at the child. Every child has a one similar feature or similar aspect, and that is what? They ask a lot of questions. They remain always curious. Why this? Why not this? If you ask him, if you tell him, beta ये मेडिसिन खा लो, वो बोलेगा क्यों खाते हैं? अरे अच्छा हो जाएगा. कैसे हो जाएगा? अरे तू खा तो ले. नहीं, खाने के बाद वो पेट में जाएगा. मेरा पैर कैसे ठीक हो जाएगा? अरे वो पैर की तरफ जाता है, लेकिन कैसे जाता है? They ask lot of questions. That curiosity means what? They are not accepting the things as it is. Yes, but the same behavior was curtailed or controlled by the Pope, by the religion here during the medieval time, and that's why when you stop to ask the question, when you stop to examine the things, at that time what happens? no new knowledge start to emerge. No new knowledge emerges. And the knowledge is equal to light. है ना? Always दिमाग की बत्ती जला दो. Mentos. है ना? So knowledge is equal to light. And that's why, as here, no questioning was there. No new knowledge was there. And that's why no new light was there or new light was there. Huh? And that's why this era get called as a dark era. Dark age. So, getting the metaphor, why this era was called as a dark era? Because no new thought, no new knowledge, no new inquiry, no new questioning was allowed this time. And everything was everybody was just imitating whatever, following whatever the church and religion were propagating. And that's why religion became dogmatic, religion became redundant, religion became rigid, and religion lost its purity. Getting my point? So this was the medieval era. Now, what happened here? From 14th century to the 19th century, a lot of social changes took place in the Europe. And because of these all social changes, European society transformed from traditional society, this is the traditional society, to the modern society. But this happened in a process, evolutionary process. This happened in a evolutionary manner. Okay? And this evolutionary process get called as a process of modernity. The process of modernity. So modernity is what? The process through which European society transformed from traditional society to the modern society. Are you getting my point? Is that clear, Kishore? Is that clear, Aditi? Ganesh, Shital. Okay. So this is the transformation. Getting my point? First. Second, when this process of social changes were taking place, this process of modernity was taking place, and when the European society was becoming modernizing, okay, in that era, because of all these factors, in 19th century particularly, the sociology emerged as a separate social science which largely focus upon the whole process, how these social changes happen in European society, why they happen, what impacted because of all these social changes, what has been changed, and all these things they started to studied by the sociologists like Comte, Spencer, Durkheim, all these people in the 19th century, which resulted into the emergence of sociology. And that's why this diagram we have discussed here, first of all, social changes took place in Europe, then emerged modernity, and then it led to the emergence of sociology. Now come to the heading of the topic: modernity, social changes in Europe, and emergence of sociology. First of all, these all social changes took place. This led to the modernity, and all this led to the emergence of sociology. Getting what is our topic? Why we are discussing it? So from traditionalism to the modernity. Getting? Now, first of all, in this time, all the social changes which took place, they have been clubbed into the two categories by the Francis Abraham. According to Francis Abraham, All these factors we can divide into the two categories. First, intellectual factors, and second is the material factors. Okay? And all these factors, intellectual factors and material factors, leaded to the emergence of sociology. Okay? Now, what he say? According to M. Francis Abraham, Renaissance, Reformation, Enlightenment and French revolutions provided intellectual force, whereas Industrial Revolution became a material cause behind the emergence of sociology. Am I right? Okay? Yeah. So, whenever you will write down the answer, okay, whenever you will get the question that sociology is the child of age of revolution, discuss. Okay, sociology, how sociology emerged in Europe because of the modernity, or the question, what factors caused to the emergence of sociology. Whenever you will write down the answer for the topic of emergence of sociology, don't forget to mention M. Francis Abraham. That is what a thinker, that is his analysis. That will give advantage to us. लिखना वही है, that industrialization, that reformation, renaissance, all these causes to the emergence of sociology. But when we write it down like this, according to M. Francis Abraham, then it provides some weightage to your answer. First, second, you are not just listing the factors, you have divided it into the two categories. That means you are analyzing, you are providing analysis, means your answer is becoming analytical. Are you getting my point? Yes, Aditi, Kishore. So, this is the thing. And that's why just don't list down the factor. Write down that intellectual factors and material factors caused, become a cause for the emergence of sociology. Getting? Okay? Next. Now, we will focus now here upon the Renaissance and Reformation, first of all, and then we will move forward to the Enlightenment era also. Let's start. Renaissance. So, what do you know about the Renaissance? Anybody? Renaissance. The literal meaning of the Renaissance is revival, rebirth, revival or rebirth, reawakening, new birth, rebirth, cultural rebirth, rebirth of European people from the medieval dogma, tradition and civil evil practices. Now, during the medieval time, a religion was leading the way. Religion was directing the people how to live a life. Religion was literally commanding. Religion was monopolizing everything. Even king also lost its sovereign power. The Pope was the supreme authority, and king has to abide with the advice of Pope. That was the thing during the time of medieval era, correct? And all these things were started to challenge during the time of Renaissance. Now, in the Renaissance, see, nobody is challenging directly the authority of Pope. Nobody is questioning directly the authority of Pope. No. Because from last couple of decades, from last 400 to 600 years, the religion was dominating over the worldview of people. And you cannot directly challenge the worldview of people, and you cannot say them, just discard their ideas. People are not that much, remain always adaptive to the social changes. People always love to remain as it is. And that's why social changes take place in a very slow manner. And here, as the Pope was everything, so it was not possible for the Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo or any other scientist to directly challenge the authority of Pope. but they knew we have to start the process. Then in the Renaissance, they just focus upon one thing, and that is what? Question. And they question the authority, not directly, but through the art, through the literature, through the painting, okay, through the new economic ways. But folks, this happened again, means Leonardo or Michelangelo or Roger Bacon or other people, they become able to create that art or culture which was creating or raising the question against the Pope. That became possible because of the one another factor, one another revolution, and that was a commercial revolution. So the commercial revolution was the first revolution because of which all these people became able to use their art, to use their creativity to raise the question against the authority. And that's why this particular here one thing, so Renaissance, and this Renaissance took place in the two form. One is a commercial revolution and second is a scientific revolution. Commercial revolution and scientific revolution. What is Renaissance? Renaissance means a combination of two revolutions. These two revolutions took place in a two different field. One in economic sector, and second in a scientific sector. And in this way, the Renaissance created that curiosity among the people. Renaissance reawakened the people who were sleeping from the last couple of decades. Okay? And that's why, folks, to understand what does mean by the Renaissance, how that became possible, how that led to the all other social changes, we first of all need to understand here what does mean by the commercial revolution and what is its impact, and what does mean by the scientific revolution and how it impacted over the society. Okay? Yes. So again, the same Mona Lisa is very famous. Why, Shivam, Mona Lisa is famous? Or why the painting of Mona Lisa is important? Why the painting of Mona Lisa is important? Because this is the first human painting. First human painting. This example is a very simple, okay, and very important for us to understand why and what changed because of the Renaissance. See, I gave you this discussion. See, the traditional Europe was dominated by the church. Am I right? Church. So church was there. Church and the Pope, they dictated, if you want to write something, write about the God or the son of the God, that is the king. If you want to think about something, think about the God or son of the God, that is the king. If you want to just write some poetry or write some prose, a book, then write about the God or the son of the God. If you want to sculpted something, any statue, then it must be, the subject of the statue must be the God or the son of the God. If you want to paint something, then the subject of that painting must be God or son of the God, that is the king. Okay, and people followed it. People followed it for more than hundreds of years. Why they followed it? Because they don't wanted to get cursed. They wanted to lead a happy life. And that's why whatever the Pope used to say, people used to follow that. Whatever the Pope used to say, people follow it. But here, during this Renaissance, Leonardo just painted a one painting of a human being, that was the Mona Lisa. That was the Mona Lisa. And when he was painted a painting of Mona Lisa, everybody started to discuss, now what will happen to the Leonardo, as he had challenged, as he has broke down the unwritten rule of the Pope, that the subject matter of any painting should be a god or son of the god, otherwise you will get curse. Now what will happen to the Leonardo? अब Leonardo को होगा क्या? And Leonardo will lead a very dreaded kind of life. Now Leonardo will catch disease. Now Leonardo will live a rotten life. है ना? People were discussing, but nothing was happened to the Leonardo. Leonardo was leading a same kind of life. Leonardo is still a happy man. Leonardo is still a normal man. Now the people started to get questioned. If Leonardo is happy, Leonardo is leading a normal life, then who is wrong? Or where is the wrong? Or where is the problem? What happened? दिमाग की बत्ती जल गई. लोगों के दिमाग की बत्ती जल गई. People started to get questioned. Who is deceiving to whom? Who is lying? Who is Pope or Leonardo? But Leonardo did nothing. He just painted a one human painting, which was against the rules of law, rules of religion, and punishment was a rotten life. Then now what will happen? But nothing happened. People started to get questioned. And this was a bell. Okay, this was a bell sound which alarmed all the people in the European society. By something is their problem, but problem is with whom? Religion. Pope. That is the Renaissance. That is the Renaissance, and that's why Mona Lisa's painting is the symbol of questioning, reasoning, logical thinking. It was a symbol, and that's why Mona Lisa's painting is important for us. Not because she's smiling in a very mysterious manner. No. Why she is famous? Why she is important for us? As she is the first human painting. Getting my point? That is the thing, and that's why Mona Lisa was the beginning point of Renaissance. And before the Mona Lisa, Michelangelo also started to do a lot of things, but Mona Lisa is a striking feature, striking aspect. Getting my point? Now, come to the next thing, that Renaissance, this Renaissance particularly happened on the painting of Mona Lisa. Okay, Leonardo da Vinci. This phenomena became possible because of the previous happenings or previous social changes took place during the time of commercial revolution. Commercial revolution. So first of all, commercial revolutions created a very favorable background to the Renaissance. Okay, and then Renaissance, or the lot of things happened during the Renaissance time. And again, the Renaissance was characterized by the scientific revolution also. So commercial revolution to the scientific revolution, all these happen during this time, and this collectively get called as a Renaissance time. Now what happened during the commercial revolution? Okay, commercial revolution happened in European society because of the four major aspects or factors. First, discovery of new land. Second, entry of the new commodities into the trade. Discovery of new sea route and new ways and new organizations. Now, discovery of new land, for example, Columbus, yes, he left European continent to reach to the India, but accidentally he went to the West Indies. Yes, but accidentally he found new land, rich with the minerals, rich with the natural resources. And that led to the entry of new commodities. Then they started to produce corn, tobacco, all these things in the European, American continent, and that was became a source of commodities for the European trade. Columbus, second, here's the sea route. How Columbus came? Here he left European continent accidentally. Then he reached to the West Indies. Then he spent few time here, and then he came back to the European society with a lot of new commodities like a tobacco and corn. Next, Vasco da Gama. Yes, Vasco da Gama also left to reach to the India, and he became successful. He also left from the Portugal. Then he went to the Cape of Good Hope. Yes, and then finally he became successful to reach to the Calicut. Here also he what he purchased? Black gold in the exchange of traditional gold. And what is that black gold? Paper, spices. Kalimiri, spices. That spices. And these spices were very much important for these European people because their food was a tasteless, unedible. Before the adding these all spices. And that's why spices were very much a luxurious item for the European people and was in a very much in demand. So he also became able to find out the new sea route. Because of that, new commodities in the form of spices entered into the trade. Okay, these two things happen here. Second, because of Columbus, the trade with the America started, and because of the Vasco da Gama, the trade with the India started. Yes, in this time again they also started their trade with the Africa. They purchased humans. Yes, and they sold these humans in the form of slaves to the America. They sent them. So new entry of the new commodity. So here humans were also the part of the new commodity. A slavery trade started here. Second thing, third thing. Okay, look at carefully that because of the long route trade started here, the risk also increased tremendously. So risk in the sea trade is remain always higher than the risk on a land route trade. Okay, now somebody has to take that risk. That's why new mechanisms in the economy emerged. Which are these new mechanisms? For example, in the long route trade, you cannot carry huge amount of money and you cannot exchange it with the other people. For that matter, new exchanges emerged. The new trade exchanges emerged. What is the today's stock exchange? Today's stock exchange emerged during this time. The people of Denmark, they formed the world's first stock exchange where they provided opportunity to the traders that go trade with the country, we will take your risk. But in lieu of that risk, we will also take the share from the profit. Stock exchanges emerged here. Profit emerged here. Profit became legitimate thing here. And that's why the agrarian economy slowly and gradually started to shift toward the profit-based economy. The subsistence economy started to move towards the profit-based economy because now profit is everywhere, here. Because of the new commodities, because of these favorable conditions, the profit emerged. Are you getting my point? Okay, so that happened here. Next thing, the new commodities and all these things. Okay, and thus in the global world, in the global map, we can say that these, oh sorry, the trade started between this, the trade started here, the trade started here, the trade started here, everywhere. But through the trade, they were not exchanging only the goods, but they were also exchanging ideas. What an idea, Sarji. Yes, ideas. With the trade, they also came into the contact with the different kind of cultures. Different kind of culture. They also came in the contact with the different type of gods, different type of religious things. Yes? And because of this, what happened here? First time, the European people started to think, why these people are not worshipping the Jesus? Pope told us that Jesus is the only Son of the God. Masiha, messenger. But these people even don't know the name of the Jesus. What is the relevance of this thing? Why? People started to think. It means God does have its universal presence, or God is a localized concept. See, this only ignited the minds of the people. And when you started to think, automatically you started to put your logic. So logic. People started to think logically. If these people, the Indian people, don't know the Jesus, then it might be either Jesus is a localized God or localized concept, or might be these people are ignorant. Pope said, hey, don't ask these questions. These people don't know the Jesus because they are ignorant. They are not even the people. They are not even the civilized community. That's why they called us barbaric, uncivilized people. All these things happen here. And because of this, but most important is what? Ideas. Ideas started to exchange. People came into the contact with each other's culture. And all this led to the questioning. Nothing. Renaissance mein, this commercial revolution is why important? Because first, it transformed the traditional subsistence-based economy to the profit-based economy. Second, it led to the exchange of ideas, and it also led to the contact with the different type of cultures. And it also ignited the minds of people. It gave rise to the new institution, for example, stock exchange. And the most important thing of the commercial revolution is what? It paved a way for the emergence of new class in the society. Here, first time, the people emerged who were not involved into the agriculture. Who were not involved into the agriculture. And who were not even the aristocratic. Means they were not the king. These people were not the religious bishop and all. So these people were not even the agriculturists. These people even were not the king and kingsman and aristocrat and bishop. Then who are these people? These people are those people who were involved into the trade, who were involved into the economic activities, which was very much a new thing during this time. And to this people, they called, this is the class between the lower class and upper class. This is the class, middle class. So middle class emerged here. And remember always saying, the world history has been changed by the middle class. Every revolution took place because of the middle class. Every revolution. Enlightenment, take the example of scientific revolution, because became possible because of the middle class. Because the middle class is that class which has a secure source of livelihood, okay, which is not working into the agriculture, which is not amassing the huge amount of wealth. So it has a time, and when middle class has a time, it try to think. If you have a time, then automatically you start to think. And today people don't think because they don't have the free time now. They're always engaged into the mobile. That's why today the mobile has stopped our thinking process. We are not thinking today. We are just became the receiver. We are receiving everything. Getting? Okay? Yes. So the impact of commercial revolution was what? Expansion of trade, availability of new market, subsistence based economy but transform into the profit based economy, exchange of new ideas and cultural values, erosion of the powers to the church. Yes. So are you getting? Kishore, Shital, Aditi, HR, are you getting? Any question here? Shivam? Azad? Nothing? Clear? Okay. So this was the impact of commercial revolution. Now come to the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution started with the Copernicus and ended with the Sir Isaac Newton. Yes? The scientific revolution is a shift of religious or traditional beliefs to more of a scientific statement with the use of experiments and observations. Now scientific revolution took place here. And a lot of things happened here. Copernicus, Galileo, the Galilei, then Kepler, then Isaac Newton, Vesalius. Yes. So in the lecture you have gone through might be all these scientists, how they invented new things, new laws, how they discovered new hidden laws within the nature. Yes. So everything was started here. But remember, these all scientists were part of the middle class. And this middle class became possible because of the commercial revolution. So commercial revolution led to the scientific revolution through the middle class. Okay. Now, this scientific revolution happened in the visual art, medicine, astronomy, education, everywhere. Visual art, just we have discussed the example of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, so they were the part of the scientific revolution. Medicine, William Harvey, Vesalius. So Vesalius started first time the dissection of the body. And by dissecting the body first time, which was not allowed that time. Why? Again, because of those religious ideas that after the death we start traveling to the heaven, and if you dissect the body, then what type of body it will carry to the heaven? The body which don't have legs or which don't have hands? No. We will not allow this. So keep the body intact. We will bury it in the ground as it is, so that the body will start its travel to the heaven. But what Vesalius did? He started dissecting the body. Why? To find out what is hidden within the body. And nothing happened to the body, nothing happened to the Vesalius. Again people were looking at, and people were again started to think, heart is like this. I have shown you the painting in the lecture. I have shown you that how they were painted the internal organs of the body at one place of stomach. So all these useless things were challenged by the dissection of the body by the Vesalius. So new medicine also started to invent here. Astronomy, Kepler, geocentric to heliocentric. Then education, invention of the printing press. The most striking invention was the printing press. This printing press democratized. The printing press democratized the knowledge actually. Before the printing press, people used to read the manuscript. Means if I want to publish 100 leaflet, I have to write it down 100 leaflets. But after the printing press, it became revolutionary. I have to just print it. It reduced the time to reprint the same content. Yes, it reduced the cost so that the common people also became able to purchase it. Yes, or access with it. And it also become easier to transport it, to spread it. So I gave you the example. Might be you are remembering it. Why printing press matters more? Okay. I usually give this example to my student, and that is Shekhar Gaikwad sir was a sugar commissioner. Before that, he was district magistrate in Sangli, and he has one very good habit to explain very complex laws in a simple language so that common people can read it, can become knowledgeable and get aware. So he has a very good habit, and usually every month he publishes at least one book. Even now, every month he publishes one book by writing a book. So what happened here? When he was a district magistrate of Sangli, he wrote down a book for the farmers to explain the very complex land laws. It was a very short book. It was very simple and lucid book. It cost around 20 rupees, just 20 rupees. He kept the price low because the farmers can purchase it. He published that book and he got a very good response. Okay. In a month or 2 months, all the copies sold out. Then he reprinted another. That also sold out. Then he reprinted another. That was also sold out. And he was very happy that yes, my book is so much spreading. People are reading, people are becoming aware and all that. So he was very happy. So he thought that yes, I will execute more such products or books in a coming time. In a fine day, on one fine day, there was a meeting of all Talati, rural officers. The Mr. Shekhar Gaikwad sir was chair of that meeting, and the meeting started with all the Talatis were there. Everybody was discussing he this and that and all that. In the end of the meeting, he just, by accidentally, he just opened that subject that the book has been welcomed by the farmers very much. And if anybody gives any feedback to you, then please share with me. Because Talati is the first person to whom farmers comes into the direct contact. So Talati says, no sir, this book is very good and people were welcoming and all that and blah 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 blah. Okay, meeting finished, meeting ended. After that, 2 Talatis came to meet Shekhar Gaikwad sir, and they said, sir, actually the book is revolutionary. In a very simple and lucid language, you have explained what does mean by the land laws. But do you know actually who is purchasing those books? Who? Not all the farmers, but all the Talatis. Your every book has been purchased by the Talatis. Why? Because they don't wanted to reach that knowledge to the poor farmers. to the poor farmers. If farmers read the book, the farmers will start to ask the question to the talati. Farmers will not remain ignorant. Farmers, दिमाग की बत्ती जल जाएगी ना. So farmers will become aware. Farmers will become knowledgeable. Farmers will get knowledge. Farmers will get to know about the system, and easily then they will challenge everything whatever the talati says. It will end the corruption, folks. Knowledge has that power to solve such a heinous problems. The corruption easily. And that's why Brahmins rejected the right to education to all the so-called at that time untouchables. Why? Because they wanted to make these untouchables slaves. Instead of unless and until you bind the thinking ability of the people, you cannot make them slaves. Unless and until you snatch away the right to education from the people, you cannot force them into the slavery. The slavery is not just a physical form, slavery is also a mental form. Getting my point? And that's why the talatis were purchasing all the copies, because they wanted to keep farmers in a ignorance. Otherwise, they will become learned, they will get educated, and they will challenge you. And that was the direct impact on their papi pet ka sawal, corruption. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? And that's why, see, the education is the most important weapon. And pen, that's why, is a mightier than the sword. That is the important thing. So, please remember this. Printing press democratized the knowledge. Printing press became, because of the printing press, the education, the thoughts of Leonardo, thoughts of Newton spreaded easily across the continent. That's why the printing press was the major invention human being have. Because of the printing press, knowledge became democratized. Otherwise, it was first of all the monopoly of only few learned people. During the freedom struggle, what happened? Kesari, Maratha, this kind of newspaper. Those people who were learned, who were educated, they purchased the Kesari. They used to stand in the chalk and they used to read it loudly. And that ignited Indian people, that ignited the minds of Indian people against the British Raj. That is the power of education, that is the power of information, knowledge, and that. But that became again possible because of the printing press. अगर प्रिंटिंग प्रेस नहीं होता तो केसरी नहीं होता, केसरी नहीं होता, मराठा नहीं होता, तो लोगों के दिमाग में स्वराज कहां से आता? The major barrier of connecting the people was removed by the printing press. This is the scientific revolution. And because of all these, visual art, medicine, astronomy, education, because of all these inventions and new scientific ideas, what happened here? It led to the rationalism, it led to the logical thinking, it led to the empiricism, it led to the spread of scientific outlook. Rationalism. Now, people started to accept whatever said by the Pope by applying the rationality, not as it is. Rationality. They started to think upon it. Logical thinking. Experimentation. We will not accept whatever you are saying unless and until we will experiment it. Okay? Scientific revolution. What happened here? The science enable people to accept whatever, not as it is, but accept whenever we will experience it. So empiricism, the spread of scientific outlook, emergence of natural sciences. Because of the scientific revolution, what happened here? The people became knowledgeable. People started to raise the question. People are not accepting whatever the things Pope is propagating as it is. No, I will apply my own rationality upon it. Okay, and then only I will accept it. That was the result of scientific revolution. And because of the scientific revolution, what the example is, very good example is Galileo, Kepler, hai na? What they said, Earth is not stationary, sun is stationary, Earth is revolving around the sun. Getting my point? So here, all the other scientists, they motivated to find out the real hidden laws within the nature. Everything, whatever the propagated by the Pope, was challenged during this time, commercial revolution and scientific revolution. And here, the new branches of knowledge emerged, which were trying to explore the knowledge in the form of physical, the knowledge in the form of material, the knowledge in the form of chemical, the knowledge in the form of living being. And those branches of knowledge are biology, chemistry, physics. And these are the first three branches came out of the scientific revolution. They called as the natural sciences, PCB, physics, chemistry, and biology. Are you getting my point? That was the scientific revolution. But with the scientific revolution and commercial revolution, the point you just mentioned before, time before, Azad, humanism, the humanism and individualism. Because of the work of all this commercial revolution and scientific revolution and all those great artists, okay, human became the subject matter of everything. Just for example, Mona Lisa was the human. Because of the painting of Mona Lisa, human became the subject for painting. Hai na? Because of the all scientific discoveries, human became the center point of all the new discovery, all the new invention, all the new. So humanism emphasized the worth, potential, and dignity of the individual. Until this era, who was at the center of point? Who was at the center of discussion? God. God was everywhere. But now human came into the center of the discussion. At the same time, secularism and study of society. The secularism as an idea actually emerged. Okay, the word coined during the time of enlightenment. But here, the process started. As commercial revolution and scientific revolution was the challenge against the Pope and religious dogmas. It directly decreased the role and importance of church, but that proportionately increased the importance of king. King became powerful now. Previously, the Pope used to dominate over the king also. But here, king started to become important. And the importance of church started to reduce. This directly led to a slowly and gradual process of separation of church and king. A secularism. Separation of church and king. Then, rediscovery of classical thoughts. Aditi just few minutes mentioned that revival of classical thoughts. Yes, during this particular era, the revival or rediscovery of classical thought became possible. Rediscovery of classical thoughts means the thoughts of Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. All those thoughts here started to re-emerge, which were based upon the science, which were discarded during the medieval time by the Pope. But here, now again, all these people, the philosophers, they rediscovered, they revived all those thoughts of Socrates. What Socrates said? Socrates said, knowledge is the virtue. Knowledge is the virtue. And he said that every time you continue to ask the question until and unless you find it out the truth. So those things again started to revive here. Art and observation, the new masterpieces, new culture, new sculpture, new architecture. That also emerged here, which was free from the influence of God. Okay, modern art, modern architecture. Here was the beginning of a very slow beginning, a very initial beginning. Here we can find out a beginning of urbanization, particularly in Italy. Italy, the city states emerged first of all. City states in Italy emerged because of the commercial revolution. Because of the commercial revolution, the emergence of cities became possible. City means what? Where people are not involved into the agriculture. Simply, and that became possible because of the commercial revolution. So city state emerged here, but that was a very humble beginning. Humble beginning. The real urbanization started after the industrial revolution. So folks, these were the various impact of scientific revolution: rationalism, logical thinking, okay, then the scientific thoughts, then emergence of new natural sciences, urbanization, then humanism. All those were the impact of the scientific revolution. Getting? So this was the first Renaissance time. So Renaissance has two important revolutions. Two important revolutions took place during the Renaissance. One is commercial revolution and second is yes. Okay, until this, any problem, any question? Aditi, Ananta, Sheetal, Kishore, HR, any question until this? Okay, no problem. Chalo, we will move forward a little bit. Okay, yes, Reformation era. Now in this Reformation, what happened? The whole process of asking question became too much important here. And here the few religious bishops, few religious people themselves, they directly challenged. Until the commercial revolution, until the scientific revolution, people were just rediscovering, reviving old thoughts, old things. But here, during the time of Reformation, now first time people started to demand the reforms. Until this, they were just painting the Mona Lisa. Until this, they were just rediscovering the laws. But during the time of Reformation, now they openly challenge the Pope's authority. And that's why it posed religious and political challenge to the Catholic Church. So Reformation, naam mein na sab kuch reforms. In this time, they started to demand the reforms. Okay, they started to demand the reforms, and the major reformers or the people who demanded the reforms were Martin Luther King, John Calvin, and Ulrich Zwingli. These were the reformers who actually demanded the reforms into the society, reforms into the religious system. Getting my point? Okay. So, what type of reforms they demanded? The most important was the Martin Luther King, who himself was a religious person. But later on, what he found, that religion, that the Pope was exploiting the people. For example, one major incident took place, and that was when Martin Luther King visited Rome. At that time, the Pope was selling the passes of sin, or passes of the to reduce the sin. If suppose you want to provide the salvation to your grandfather, then you have to purchase the passes in the name of your grandfather. 100 रुपए का पास लिया तो 100 रुपए का पाप आपके दादाजी का कम हो जाएगा. And this was ridiculous. But still people were purchasing. But why they were purchasing? Because People were kept in such a manner by the Pope from the centuries. So there was no doubt about it. So he was not having any problem with the people, but he was having the problem with the Pope and his machinery. Even though they know this is ridiculous, but they were exploiting, amassing huge amount of wealth. Yes? And this is not the religion. For this, Jesus Christ has not gave birth to the Christianity. And then he went to the church. He was a German. He went to the Germany. He went to the church. And there he just wrote down around 30 various principles and demands. And he just pasted it on the door of church. And here, first of all, Pope ridiculed Martin Luther King as a insane person, mad person. But the same mad person then openly challenged slowly and gradually the Catholic Church. And when he became so much popular, Catholic, the reform, this Martin Luther King became so much popular at that time, the Pope started to initiate, to expel the Martin Luther King out of the Christianity. Out of the Christianity. But before they become successful, Martin Luther King, he protested against the Catholic Church and he openly declared that we will not remain within the Catholic fold. We will try to find out our own Christianity, our own God, our own age-old Jesus Christ, and we will walk upon the Old Testament, whatever the mentioned into the Bible by the Jesus Christ. We will follow that. We will not follow the Pope. We will follow the Jesus. We will not follow the Pope. We will follow the Bible. We will not follow the Pope. We will follow our own heart. And here, those people who gone or who went with the Martin Luther King to protest against the Catholic, all these people came to get called as a Protestant people. Protestant people. And so, impact of Reformation, what happened here? It built an intellectual foundation to the modern Europe. Human being and human society became the center, humanism. Pope and church lost the hegemony. It marked the beginning of secularism or secularization, and it paved a way for the Enlightenment. Are you getting? Okay. So this was basically a Reformation. So Renaissance and Reformation.
Thanks for watching. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. The Officer, your personal mentor.